Well, hello and welcome to this week's video here on the Resto Saga Classic Car Restoration YouTube channel. And this week, because it's still in lockdown here in the UK, we are back at the Toylander 1. So as you can see, the main changes, if you caught the full rebuild overview, which I did 2 weeks ago, are that the bonnet has arrived and I've started a little bit of work on that. I've also done a little bit of work on the windscreen, which is a work in progress, and I'll also be doing some bits and pieces on the back end, all within this video itself. The lockdown itself has caused a few issues with parts supply and getting paint ordered and colour matched and so on, so I'm only doing what I can manage, but I'm sure you'll still find it interesting as to see the project progress, as we nearly have finished the bodywork here, and then it'll be shipped down to storage and I can get on with the metalwork of the axles, the steering, the braking mechanism, the wiring and the motors and so on, all those bits and pieces. I can get all the parts gathered together before actually putting them on the shell. And also, because this is going to be a Christmas present for my son, I wanted to get it out of the way before he really gets to realise what it is. So without any further ado, let's get on with the work. So as I mentioned 2 weeks ago, I put up a video of the Toylander 1 progress to date. You'll notice that the garage is a bit of a tidy up since then, and last week I showed you all about getting the floor redone, and I've already started to make a bit of a mess, but it is a working workshop. Down the floor are some bits and pieces for the windscreen, and ta-da! The windscreen frame is complete and the acrylic is in. I'll take you around that in a little second. That was quite exciting and I can't wait to get it on, but there's a few little problems along the way. The bonnet has arrived. I ordered this from Toylander themselves. It was about £30. It's just a shaped sheet of aluminium. There's no way I would have been able to do this to myself and make it look good, which is why I forked out for this. As you can see, there is a little bit of a gap here, which is actually only going to get bigger because this needs to be packed 4 mils up off the wings. So I'm now realizing why they say don't put the front panel on until last. So I'm going to have to take that off, put the bonnet on in the correct position, and then lift the radiator panel a little bit, but that's okay. Should be easy enough done. Coming around here, windscreen panel, I've taken it out because it fell out and I was going to wreck the paintwork otherwise. Also gone around and done all the panel gap lines with a little brush, and I'll show you the paint I used for that. Bring it around here. Where is it? There you go. Humbrol model paint, and it's just this grey matte colour. Did the same on this side, just put it on with a little model brush and use white spirit just to wipe off the excess. And I think I didn't want to use black because it just stands out too much, but grey seems slightly more appropriate. So what I'm going to start this video off doing is making these. These are the little catches for called the anti-loose joints, which are the anti-loose catches which go through these aluminium plates. And of course, as with everything else in this project, I ordered stainless steel. So these are going to go in, and those will be the little loops that they go through. So let's get on with making some of those. Over here, this is the aluminium plate. Seems to have gone quite far. I've got loads out of this one plate, and I've marked them out with my little template. I'm just going to set 2 here with the hacksaw and get them tidied up. Cut the pair out together, clamp them together, and then we just work on them with the file as a pair so that they're identical in size and shape. So here you can see I have 2 roughly cut out anti-loose plates, and I've put the template in the vise as well. And now I'm just going to use the file to take off all these sharp edges and to bring it down to the size of the template. And once I see the template move, I'll know I've gone too far. I can just budge it round again. And that's generally how I've been making all my little templated pieces, but I've been putting off these particular plates for quite some time. Don't really know why. They're not that hard to do, but just fiddly, and I like to see and do things that have a good visual impact. And here, just after a few minutes of file work, you can already see it starting to come into shape. So I'm going to turn it around here, being very careful not to move the template, otherwise that'll really screw things up. And we'll see how we go from there. And there we go, we have both these little filler panels glued in with the Gorilla Glue, and I have clamped them on. The instructions actually say to paint them black, but I thought silver would be more in keeping with the windscreen frame, so I've gone with a nice aluminium tone silver engine paint actually that I found at the back of the shelf. which has actually been a really good match. So there you go. Skipping on a little bit on terms of the anti-loose catches, I have finished shaping the little tabs and I've drilled out these holes. Now actually my drill only goes to a 10mm drill bit. It's not the biggest drill in the world. So I had a 9mm bit and then realised that the catch, if I can find it here, is actually about 13mm around that shaft, including the little drop down part. So I had to do a bit of filing. So yeah, probably not the neatest round hole in the world, but it is custom shaped, shall we say, to what the anti-loose catch needs. So I'm going to mark this centre hole here, and then take the panel off. It's probably going to be the easiest. Drill the 8mm hole for the M8 anti-loose catch and bore the hole through the wooden panel as well, just so it's all tip top and tidy. And there we have it. 2 anti-loose catches in, both working very nicely. And if you notice right down in there, I fitted a little rubber grommet, mainly so that this is quite thin and I didn't want it all rattling around. So that's just there to pack out the space. So all looks quite good. The only problem is this really does show off how this joint has not become quite so straight, but that's okay. I think now that I've pointed out to you, you'll notice, but really no one else is going to notice that. But I think that really sets off the details nicely at the back. So all I need now is a number plate and a Toylander badge, I think, really, to finish off the back. So that's okay. The clamps are off the windscreen frame, so it's ready to go on. I really need to figure out how to do this windscreen hinge at the side, and I'll maybe explain that in a little second. I'm probably going to have to look on the Toylander website, or if anyone else here has made this side hinge, let me know how to do it. The instructions aren't that clear. Looking at the bonnet, then have one piece of wood in down the back, and with the Gorilla Glue I just need to put another one at the front and tidy that back one up. So that'll be the next job really. Let's just set that back in there, not to scratch the paint. Ever important. Let's get this front panel off as well. Really, in fact, you know what? Let's just concentrate on the windscreen, get the hinges made up and get it on one job at a time, because there's no point in really flying on with the bonnet just yet when I don't have paint. So just to clarify what I was saying there, this is the windscreen hinge here. There's 2 portions, obviously the part that attaches to the windscreen, which is straightforward enough. But there's also this bit here, which is the bottom half, and that is attached to a piece of aluminium angle. And what the instructions don't explain is how this piece of aluminium angle joins to this flat bottom portion of the hinge. There don't seem to be any screws going in that way into the bulkhead, and I quite like that this is a nice clean line, but I'm really at a loss as to how these 2 pieces of aluminium are joined together. I mean, yes, I could use the likes of JB Weld or more Gorilla Glue, but I don't think that's a particularly elegant solution. So I have submitted a query on the Toylander website to see if they can provide any clarity on this, but if worst comes to worst, I'll just put 2 screws in from the side, and to be honest, it won't look too out of keeping with the 2 rivet heads and then 2 screws beneath, but it'll be pretty secure. So back around the front again, and as is obvious by the big hole, I've taken out the front panel, which is sitting down here. I've also taken the grille off to replace the split pins with stainless, but also so that I can reach through the front panel there with my drill. The reason I'm taking this off, and the reason why there's 4 drill bits here, these are 4mm drill bits, and I'm using these as distance pieces as suggested in the manual, so that I can mark out where I want to put the hinges, because I think I'm going to have to put the hinges in, mark the holes, drill all that before I paint, so that I'm not drilling through fresh paint, potentially cracking and scraping things. And then what I can do is fit the front panel, raise it up a bit as I mentioned, and cover all this back up again, hopefully making it all look a little bit more complete. So yes, it looks like 1 step forward, 2 steps back, but at the minute I think that's the way it's going to be until all the adjustments are made and it all looks nice and tidy. So let's get that done. So one more thing just to show you before I sign this video off is the hinges. So there's obviously going to be a gap down the back of the windscreen here where the windscreen, bonnet, down the back of the bonnet here where the hinges are going to sit. And I have the two hinges here. The one on the right there is just a normal stock hinge which has been painted badly and needs repainted again, to be honest. The one on the left I've put in the vise just to close down the gap between the two leaves of the hinge. If the gap is slightly less, then the bonnet can sit closer to the bulkhead and it'll just look a little bit more correct. I don't have the tools to sort of set the hinges into the bonnet and cut a little bit out or anything like that. That's beyond my ability, so I have to make it look tidy. And also don't want the bonnet sitting too far proud at the front, which will then look silly against the front panel. So everything has a knock-on effect. So I'm just going to squash these hinges in here, and then, to be honest, they're going to need sanded back and primed and painted again. This is going to be the third time, but to be honest, I'm going to wait until I have some etch primer, which I need for the bonnet. In the meantime, I'm also going to put the little other wooden stay underneath and get these done. So at the minute, I can't do anything until the etch primer arrives, which is in the post, which is now delayed because of the coronavirus pandemic. So I think that's probably where I'm going to have to sign off this week's video here. So once again, thanks very much for watching this week's video here on the Rescue Saga Classic Car Restoration YouTube channel. It's been yet another video on the Toylander, which has featured quite heavily since the worldwide pandemic has broken out, mainly because I can't go out and about in the cars themselves, and I have no parts with which to do any work on them at the minute. And thankfully, actually, they're all working quite well too, which has limited the need for any work. So until I get some paint done on the Toylander, I'm going to have to put that on hold as well. But these things happen, and there are certainly worse things going on in the world out there. As I said, thanks very much for watching. Hit the subscribe button down below, I'd really appreciate that. Also fire me a comment, any questions, compliments, queries, I reply to them all. And if you'd give the video a thumbs up or like, I'd really appreciate that too. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you again next week. Cheerio.